Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Johns and I just want to welcome you to the 6th episode of my online book tours of bookshops around Australia. And today I'm super excited to have Sam, one of the owners of the Book Nest in Mudgee. I haven't been to this bookshop. I'm going to ask Sam in a minute how old the bookshop is, because I've been to Mudgee but only briefly, and I'm desperate to get back there one day and definitely check this place out. So I'm just going to say, hello, Sam. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
The weather from outside looks like Mudgee's having a beautiful day today, is it?
We are. It's very nice and sunny out here. It has been freezing cold. We've had the winds coming off the snow everywhere else, but
Oh, yes.
today.
I saw all the snow. It's quite something to look at. I can't even imagine it from over here in WA.
Yeah, no, never seen any snow that thick around here.
Wow. Okay, so I'd just love you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the bookshop. How long has it been, in operation? Anything you want to tell us about how it came to be?
Well, it's only been here for about 6 months, and it's 4 of us in partnership who run it, 4 friends, and we haven't had a bookshop in Mudgee for years, and so we had all kind of missed it and wanted to have one again. And we kind of got to talking about it last summer, or the summer before, I guess now. And, and kind of idly saying the way that maybe people do all the time, oh, it'd be nice to have a bookshop, wouldn't you love to? And then we started thinking about it a bit more seriously and realized we kind of, between the 4 of us, we had the skills to do it. Yeah. And so then we started looking for a shop. We put it on hold when COVID started, and then Mudgee got so busy as soon as everyone could travel in COVID that we decided then to just go for it and open up.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a good opportunity when everyone's there. And I know I came to Mudgee, I think it would be about even 5 or 6 years ago now. Time goes really quick. Right. Only for a brief event at the library. So I was there, I think, one night and about not even 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I remember falling in love with the place and thinking I definitely want to come back, and it's just this beautiful town and surrounds. But the fact that you guys have the Mudgee Readers and Writers Festival there, and yet there was no bookshops in Mudgee.
Yeah,
I remember.
That's right. Yeah.
There needs to be, if you have a festival like that, there's got to be a bookshop. So do you get involved with the festival?
Yeah, so all of us are already kind of involved with the festival as volunteers or something. And Portia, who's one of our partners, is the general manager of the festival, so she organises it each year. And so that was also part of it, that we knew we would be able to work with the Readers Festival and and really make that work.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm glad there's a bookshop there now. So.
Yeah, that's right. And the Readers Festival's back this year after having a year off with COVID. So we're really excited about it. Yeah, that's right. So this is the first year we've missed, was 2020. Yeah.
Oh, well, fingers crossed it gets to go ahead this year, because I know
that's right.
I've just come from Capricorn Coast Writers Festival, and I did Margaret River a couple of weeks before that. And so I went to Queensland, and it was very much like, oh my gosh, am I going to get back? Am I going to be? Am I going to be able to go? So it must be really hard to organise something, when
that's right.
It's up in the air.
Yeah. We're just charging ahead now. We're trying not to think about what happens if we can't do it. We're just
good on you.
Do it, and if it turns out we can't, then we'll stop.
And at least you've got a bookseller. So that's all.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So where did the name come from for the Book Nest? I think it's a great name, but because there's 4 of you, how did you decide? Was there a bit of a?
We spent a long time thinking about names. That was, I think, the hardest thing to do in setting up a bookshop, was coming up with a name. So we made lists and lists. And Mudgee is a Wiradjuri word that means nest in the hills. So it's partly a reference to that, and partly a reference to Portia, one of our partners, being a big chicken fanatic and wanting to have a bird connection.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm trying to remember that. Do you have I think I remember seeing the logo on your email. Is there a chicken on the logo?
Well, no, we said it could be called the Book Nest as long as it wasn't a chicken on the logo. And so what we've got on our logo, I don't know if you can see it there, is a blue wren.
Okay, yes.
You can make that out if I get out of the way.
Yep. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so we've got a blue wren sitting in a nest that's a book.
That's all, the book nest. Excellent. That is awesome. I love it. So personally,
Yeah.
you, and I guess you can talk about any of the other partners too, if they give you permission and if you want to, but how long, like obviously you've been part of the festival for a while. So what's your previous, book industry experience? How did you get into the book industry?
So Portia again is our book industry person. So she's always worked in bookshops for years and years and years. And I guess like anyone who has been a junior in a bookshop, she wanted to have her own bookshop one day. And then I'm just a big reader. And so I've been involved with kind of the library and different things like that.
I think being a reader, anyone who's been a big reader has a fantasy about working in a bookshop or owning a bookshop. Yeah.
You don't realize until you're doing it that it stops you getting any reading done because you're in the bookshop.
I can imagine. And you get sent a lot of, I guess you guys probably as well. I have worked in a bookshop briefly, and then obviously as an author, the same thing happens to me. I get sent, so many advanced reading copybooks to read, which is it sounds like the dream, free books, but at the same time they just start piling up around you and you get overwhelmed, and
my pile beside my bed has definitely grown more quickly as we've had the bookshop, and I can just think in the middle of the night, I'd like to read that, and get on the computer and order it through our system to come in. So our other partners are Matt and Alison Nipris. And Alison had also always harbored a sort of secret dream of opening a bookshop that came out in this conversation we had that summer. And then her husband, Matt, is our IT guy, and he's also our science fiction guy. So he's the person who keeps our science fiction section here well stocked with and writes recommendations. Well, and his... Oh, sorry, go on.
That's all right, you go.
His secret fantasy was to have his own tea business one day, and so we've got our own line of teas as well because that was Matt's dream.
Wow! So you guys actually, you've made that line of tea.
Yeah, well, so we haven't grown the tea, but Matt takes a bunch of teas from India and chose a few that he really liked that we would import over here and package up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Sounds like you're a bunch of very entrepreneurial people. So I'm going to ask you a quick question, but I think I already know the answer. But did you read as a child? And if so, what were some of your favourite books?
I was a big reader as a kid. And grew up in our Mudgee library here. Just reading all the time. Yeah, that's right. I grew up here. I used to read a lot of science fiction when I was a kid. So I would read a lot of Isaac Asimov, and Matt and I both read a lot of Terry Pratchett as teenagers.
Yes. And
comics.
You have a big kid section now. Obviously,
we do. It's a huge part of what we do is the kids' books, and so we've got a big junior fiction section here, and over here we've got our
parents are like so much more likely, I think, sometimes to buy books. I mean, I bought so many books when my kids were little. One of my sadness things is now they're all teenagers and unfortunately fallen away from reading a little bit. But I just hope they one day will come back. But
yeah, that's right. And I think one of the parents here said a couple of weeks ago that it's the one thing she can't refuse when her kids want it. If they want a toy or something, she can say, no, you've got enough toys. But if they want a book, what can you say? Of course they need another book.
Exactly, because, we want them to be reading. It's the best thing we can actually do. So I'd love to know, and I'm guessing this is possibly a work in progress since you've only been there 6 months, but do you do author events aside from the festival, and have you had any or planning to do any?
Yeah, so we had a book launch of one of our local poets who's a folk singer, had written a book of poetry, and so we had a launch with him, which was really good because he's a natural performer. In the shop. So
because I think you've got a great space, really. There's a lot of there's enough room that you could do that, isn't there?
This little nook down the back is especially set up for that. So we've got
beautiful.
We have our book clubs down here and our launches. Last night we had a poetry night with all the local poets and some other poets who happen to be in town, and different kind of reading and sharing poetry. So so we're planning to do lots of, and we've had a couple of authors just kind of drop by for a visit.
Kinds of books and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So you mentioned book clubs. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we started book clubs at the start of this year, and it's been really popular. So we run a Book Nest wine club where one of our local winemakers matches up a wine with a book. So we choose
Perfect.
the book, and then she chooses the wine that kind of goes with that in some way.
Yeah.
So that one's been especially popular.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And then we've got a tea book club in the morning, which is mostly people coming from out of town who don't want to be driving home late at night. We've got a novella book club that I run, which is all books that are under 200 pages.
That's fascinating.
Busy, or teachers who do a lot of reading but not for themselves. And each month,
great idea. I have not heard. I've talked to a number of bookshops now, and I have never heard. There's various different types of book clubs, but I've never heard of the novella one. And I think that's such a great idea because yes, so many people say, "Oh, I love to read, but I just don't have the time." So that's perfect.
Right. Yeah. And that one really just comes from my own taste, that I like to read a kind of short, strange book. And so we read a different novella from a different country around the world each month.
That's awesome.
And then we've got a teenager book club and a primary school book club. That runs weeks. Yeah.
I'm very impressed that you've managed to get all that off the ground in 6 months in our current time.
We really went in hard right from the start.
That's awesome. Well, you've been one question before we have a little quick look around even more, even though we've seen a lot of your beautiful store. And I also almost already know a little bit of the answer to this, but do you sell anything beside books? We know the tea. Is there anything else that you sell?
Well, also games. So we didn't have a game store in town, and Matt and Allison and their kids are big game players.
I love good games.
And so that's been a really popular section, and one that keeps us very busy.
You got some good ones.
One that Mudgee missing.
Yeah.
And so we were really excited to have that. And we've also started, because of that, we started having a Dungeons and Dragons afternoon.
Awesome. My youngest son was there.
So there's the kids come and sit down the back here, and it's really nice on a kind of quiet Saturday afternoon that there's something kind of lively and fun happening at the shop when people come in.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And as well, this back wall, this is our secondhand section.
It's gorgeous, and I loved it because it looks like when I saw it before, like I was thinking, it just looks like a library. It does. It almost feels like someone's home library. Someone who's got exactly. It's got that lovely sort of feel and atmosphere. I can imagine sitting there, feeling like you're, almost at home. You just need a coffee shop, but I'm guessing there's a lot of. I know, having been in Mudgee, you've got some fabulous cafes and other restaurants and stuff. So you probably don't necessarily need that.
I always tell everyone that any other town except for Mudgee, we would have put a coffee shop in it. But in Mudgee, as soon as you step out the door, if you look to the left, you'll see a coffee shop. If you look to the right, you'll see a coffee shop. So but I've got a good relationship with the coffee shop around the corner, and they'll run me around a coffee or a baguette for lunch.
That's awesome.
So we're okay for coffee.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, as I said, we've had a little bit of look around, but is there? You can answer this question as you're showing if you want. But what's one book you find yourself? And I know this is a very hard question for booksellers. And so I'm not strict. You can do a couple if you want. But what's a book that you find personally recommending to people a lot?
Oh, okay. So I do have one. We've got a book which, and it's really interesting having a shop like this and having books that we recommend ourselves, that I know we've got books that are some of our best sellers that maybe don't sell a single copy anywhere else in the country. Because one of us loves them and we sell it all the time.
Oh, that's amazing.
So for me, the book is 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis, which is about the Greek gods.
Writing it down.
Yeah, it's really good. The Greek gods kind of on a whim grant human consciousness to 15 dogs in a shelter to see whether it would make them happier or less happy by the end of their lives. And so then you kind of follow these dogs being let loose from the shelter and what they do with their intelligence. It's a really interesting and thoughtful and heartbreaking book. It's really lovely.
Yeah, it sounds such an interesting premise. Like I've never heard anything like that before.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, is it? You've shown us a lot, but is there anything particularly you'd like to show us before we?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the quick tour.
The official tour.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'll show you outside. This is This is our nice
Don't get run over by a car.
thing here.
Yep.
And then, and you come in, this is our local authors shelf. So we've got a whole section, which once we started, I realized how big our local author section was going to be. It started off as about 2 shelves on here. And then, you know, I found out that there were more and more local authors around.
I think that's there's so many more authors than we know. Like, you know, everyone knows the main big Australian authors, but there are, you know, there's thousands. And, you know, it's a few books that just don't get a chance to necessarily get in the mainstream. So it's great when local bookshops.
And people do want to hear local stories as well. Some of our most popular books are like this one that is kind of interviews with older locals and stories about what the Mudgee region was like.
And I guess tourists might like that sort of stuff too.
The last 80 years or so. And there's another one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tourists and locals both want to hear local stories. There's the comics, and the manga is very popular with the teenagers. So it's a section that really gets the most visible excitement. People coming in to get their latest episode of the Japanese comics that they're following. You know, no other section gets people jumping up and down in glee that the book they want is here.
I remember when I worked in a bookshop, it was the same, and I was amazed.
Yeah, and it's one of the cases where I'm really glad that we're able to provide that kind of variety and access to those books that you wouldn't necessarily expect in a little bookshop. But
definitely.
Because of our interest. And, that's right. And so these things that these kids wouldn't have been able to find, they can find here now. Which is the same with the games. So it's really nice to be able to provide that. So big game section here. Continuing kids section there. The cooking section, of course, is very popular.
Very popular, yes.
Yeah.
I love books, looking at them. I don't get a chance to cook much anymore, it feels like, but I love the look of it.
Yeah, that's right. Just flick through the pictures and it's almost like you're cooking. Yeah.
You feel.
Oh, and we built, all the shelves are made from timber from Portia's dad's farm near Ballymore.
Wow.
So when we came in, this was a bank, and we kind of stripped all the walls out, and we redid the floor, and we put in these timber shelves. So when the bookshop, especially when it was new, but even now if it's shut up for a day or two, you get this real smell of the pine.
Wow. And that's just such a great, like, you know, it's a local wood. That's a beautiful thing to have in such a good little store. Oh, that's awesome. Who made them? You've got someone very clever, obviously.
So we recruited all our dads really to come in and build. So Portia's dad mills the timber on his property, and so all and and we built it. My dad's an electrician, so he put in our lights. Gave us
awesome
panels.
You've got some very useful contacts or family. Oh no, that's awesome. Was there anything else you'd like to tell us about the Book Nest?
I don't think so, but thank you for having us on, and it'll be great to get you down for the Readers Festival sometime.
Oh, I'd love to. And just let us know where everyone can find you online if they're not in Mudgee and they'd like to just follow what you're up to, and then so that when they come for a holiday in Mudgee, they know where to go.
Yeah. So we're on Book Nest Mudgee on everything. So on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, just Mudgee. Yeah.
Excellent. That's easy. And I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure you've got a website too.
Yes, that's right. So we've got a website which is booknestmudgee.com.au, and we're halfway through setting up a shop on there.
Awesome.
We already are getting a lot of people from kind of the villages around here getting us to ship books out to them, and so
we'll have it online. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations to all 4 of you on what is an amazing shop in 6 months. There we go. Thank you. So, thank you so much for your time, Sam, and good luck, growing your business. Sounds like you're I can't wait to come and visit one day.
Yeah, great.
All right. Thank you so much.